Welcome, everyone, to a 40-minute podcast. I'm your host, Jethro Toro, and I am honored to be joined by two esteemed gentlemen, Texas Slim and Will Lehr. And we are here on top of Tecapa Volcano. Top of Tecapa Volcano, say that 3 times fast. And we are here for Berlin for Economía Bitcoin, the conference, the summit for circular economies that I co-founded along with Charlie Stevens after living here in Berlin, El Salvador, one of the most hyper-Bitcoinized places on earth. And these two gentlemen will both be speaking tomorrow, so I will introduce them both. Texas Slim, founder of the Beef Initiative. So my first ever Bitcoin transaction, before I moved to El Salvador, before I ever experienced El Zonte or Berlin circular economies, was buying a beef box of steak, high-quality steak from the Beef Initiative, founded by Texas Slim. And that was around 2022. And he's been putting in proof of work for years, decades of experience as a cattleman, as a rancher, and also cutting edge of accepting Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. So Slim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jethro. And it's fun to be able to talk after all these years because I think I met you in 22, like you said. You know, and the Beef Initiative started many moons ago, and we have a lot of proof of work throughout the years. That's why it's so fun being here in El Salvador, because it takes boots on the ground. And, you know, doing what I do is it's a vertically integrated system. You know, it's just not about selling beef boxes, but it had to be in 22. That's what we were trying to really get down to show the proof of work, right? You know, don't trust until you verify. You verified, and now we're here. And so within that, basically, we have an algorithm. It's a kind of a protocol of being a Bitcoiner, but it's also a protocol of what it means to be a U.S. cattleman, too. And I think all of our actions together collectively, but also individually, what is our why? We want freedom. We want sovereignty. We want liberty. And, you know, I didn't know I was going to end up in El Salvador the ass end of 2025, but here we are, and we have a lot to say.
Yep, here we are. We have a lot to say, and we're going to get into all of that. And I should just say, like, we're here for Bitcoin month in El Salvador. It's been 2 weeks of whirlwind action, and I'm sure we're all exhausted, but we've all been putting in a lot of work. You just signed at Bitcoin Historico at the National Palace of El Salvador. Yes. Texas Slim and the Beef Initiative just signed an agreement with the Minister of Agriculture. We're going to get into all of that later. But first, we are also joined by my friend, Will Lehr, founder of Club Cocal, with 25 years of real estate experience and OG Bitcoiner from when I was just a few years old. OG sound money guy, bringing people into the Bitcoin world. So investment professional, been living here in El Salvador for 2.5 years, and really prime spot in Cocal, halfway between El Zonte, Bitcoin Beach, and San Salvador. So he's very plugged in here. So it's fitting that they're on a panel, boots on the ground tomorrow at Economía Bitcoin. So Will, welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Wow, what an incredible month, Bitcoin month. We kicked it all off at Club Cocal with a podcast just only 2 weeks ago. It seems like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So much has happened. We made it to Berlin after a long, rugged pilgrimage. It was epic. And Economía is my first time to Berlin, and I'm in love. It's beautiful. You get up here above 3,500 feet elevation. We're up at 4,000 right now in the town of Alegria. And it's magical. Berlin is just currently full of Bitcoiners, full of Bitcoin energy, and the amount of point of sale places, you know, where you can totally live on a Bitcoin standard there. Crisp weather and everything else. Tomorrow's the grand finale of Bitcoin month, the final day of Economía. And Slim and myself and who else is on that? We've got a lineup. We've got Aaron Murphy, and then we have James from Beef Back Better who will be moderating. So stoked for it.
Yep. Yeah, the same James who runs Beef Back Better, founded the Bitcoin Farmers Market. And as you mentioned, when Slim arrived in El Salvador for this visit, his return to El Salvador, first thing he did off the airplane was come to Club Cocal for a podcast that we all did together for Will's channel. So check that one out. James was on that as well. James also hosted your fireside chat at Bitcoin Historico. So he's been putting in, talk about boots on the ground. He's been putting in work with regenerative ranching here in El Salvador for at least 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, shout out to James, and he'll be here tomorrow for Economía Bitcoin as well. But that segues well into Slim. Could you tell us a little bit more about your backstory?
Sure.
Seventh generation rancher in Texas, what that means and what you bring to El Salvador.
Sure.
It's funny, I've always been trying to tell people, where I come from, right? And what am I? And I was talking to old Roughshot, and he's been with the Beef Initiative for a long time now. He's kind of, he's our master producer of meaning, of why, and, who we are. I'm nothing but a commodity peasant, fiat commodity peasant from the dirt roads of West Texas. Means I came up in commodity, okay, in cattle country. That's why I get to say that I'm a seventh generation, cattleman, farmer, rancher, because that's all I've ever known was our living was made off commodities and cows. And how that's changed in my lifetime, I spent half my life in big tech as an independent researcher and an analyst, consultant. And so back in 2018-19, I saw something. As a researcher, not as a Bitcoiner, as a rancher, as somebody that really never got to play in that world. I had to stand on the sidelines because of the deceptions of the debt obligations of fiat. And so I took a hard look and I said, there's something here. I spent about 9 months, and you have that moment in time as a Bitcoiner, you're saying, you have your light, and I know exactly where I was, and I said, I know what's going to save the U.S. cattleman. I know what's going to be able to save all these families that, didn't have access to good money all my life. And so that's whenever I struck out, being from the top of Texas, it's a gateway. 85% of all cattle in Texas comes through my corridor. Seriously, the road I grew up on is how they transport cattle from the processing centers. But that's the same road that they take those cattle to be processed. And if you understand the system and how we have to have certain form of energy, certain form of money, it has a time chain within itself. And I knew that we could break the code of the poverty and the debt obligations. What the fuck happened after 1971? Well, I went deep into that. And by doing that, it gave me a clear freaking path to sovereignty the way that I always dreamt of as a young boy. And I knew that I had a job to do that had to be open sourced, and it had to have proof of work. And, everything I learned in Austin I started in big tech individually pretty much around, 21, 22. But that was after several years of doing heavy research. I never went to university. But what I did is I poured that work ethic and that able to understand that industry that I had to look at the sidelines from. Well, I picked it apart. And I knew that the code was basically, it's a time chain that we have to hit. And it has a sequence of events, just like cattle ranching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I look forward. I'm so glad that you'll be here with a longer term presence, and we're going to get into all that. And speaking of the time chain, so we're stamping this mini, not quite full podcast episode, but I look forward to seeing the story unfold more. Yes. But I love how you just bring this, decades of heritage, generations of heritage from Texas. El Salvador is setting an example for the world to follow in so many different ways right now. In Texas, for a century and a half, set an example for the rest of the world to follow with regenerative ranching, with feeding a nation, feeding a world. Right. So I look forward to the story unfolding. Fix the money, fix the food, fix the world, and we're going to get into all of that a lot. But for the purposes of this episode, so Will, you obviously have Texas roots as well, and would you like to get into maybe some of that and how you see the overlap? We joke about to really appreciate the full El Salvador experience as a Bitcoiner. You need a bit of we're all autistic in the Bitcoin ecosystem, but you also need some of that cowboy in you. Like it's the right balance of the cowboy and the autist. You bounce back and forth between the U.S. and El Salvador frequently to Texas, and there's some that segues well into like how you met Slim as well too.
Yeah. It's been 2.5 years, maybe 30 round trip flights now from Texas to the motherland here, and I think the fundamental underlying principle that both sovereigns really embrace is freedom. It's baked into the blood of Texans, having lived in different states, different pockets, all over the country. And, coming back to Texas always felt good. It always felt like home. It always felt free. There was this common thread of don't tread on me. Mm-hmm. And that spirit is very much alive here today, thanks to Nayib Bukele, the ultimate, rattlesnake, don't tread on me, libertarian founding father, visionary vibes. And those of us that understand that vibration, see it, come here, tap into it, and we get to work. I mean, it's this podcast we're going to be on tomorrow, or not podcast, the panel, is boots on the ground. And that's, I likened it to when I had my first child. If there's any dads in here that have had their first child, you know what I'm talking about. You just feel this drive all of a sudden. I got to go, man. I got to go, and I don't even know, but I got to go. And that's like, for me, what I reckon has happened here in El Salvador. It's like God gave me a child and said, go. And it's the same energy, man. It's just, you just tap in and you run. And I've been telling you guys, I've done a lot of things in the last 25 plus years, a lot of things. I've worked on a lot of teams, a lot of projects, different companies, different industries, different jurisdictions. And I've never, ever, ever seen anything like what is happening here. Even just in these last 2 weeks, has been, it's not really organic. I mean, this is like stardust type of stuff happening right now. This is not even natural in nature, right? It's not. This is like coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, and they just keep stacking up, several a day.
Yeah. It's such a unique moment in time here in El Salvador, and that's why it was so important. There's actually the festival going on after Economía Bitcoin in Berlin's main square right now, but I wanted to stamp this into the time chain, this short conversation, because your blend of perspectives at this moment, these past 2 weeks have been extraordinary. I mean, we were all at Bitcoin Historico. That felt like a moment in history. Royalty meets rock concert vibes. Like, Bitcoin has arrived in the real world, and it was a celebration. It was a momentous occasion to celebrate, your agreement with the Minister of Agriculture too. To your point about bringing new industries, new talent, the reverse brain drain is something you've talked about in other panels. These new perspectives into this moment of opportunity in a country where there is this Renaissance 2.0 transformation. Thank you to Nayib Bukele, and thanks to Max and Stacy for all of their work making these past 2 weeks so extraordinary with Bitcoin Month. It's a profound moment in time, and that because we're going to get into longer podcasts, I'm sure at some point in the future. But one thing I wanted to ask you, Slim, about while we have you here is you have some people don't know who may have cursory familiarity with the Beef Initiative. You guys have been putting together incredible events for years. Could you tell the story about the first Cattleman's Feast? Sure. The setting. Talk about settings. We're here on top of a volcano for Economía Bitcoin in Berlin, one of the most hyper-Bitcoinized places on earth. Bitcoin Historico was at the National Palace. Profound setting for this celebration of history. Yes. Your very first Cattleman's Feast with the Beef Initiative. Please tell us about the setting.
It's kind of fun because whenever you have conferences, they're hard to do, right? First off, they're hard to attend. They're hard to, get to sometimes. We're on top of a volcano right now. Not everybody can get there. I'd never basically once even thought about having a conference until I did. And when I did, I just said, hey, we're going to have a conference. What is it, Slim? Well, it's a Beef Initiative conference. Where is it at? And I said, well, what is it? Why? It's based on heritage. Let's get to Central Texas. Let's get down there to the Hill Country. Let's get to a place that takes a little effort, proof of work to get to, right? Because I did establish the Beef Initiative on a Bitcoin ethos. And so from the very beginning, you had to get proof of work. I had it at the Texas Cowboy Heritage Museum right there in Kerrville. And that's a very historical place in Texas just because, we have the YO Ranch. And so what I saw was an opportunity from day one to invite all Bitcoiners, especially the speakers. That was Jason Rick Ranches, founder of the Beef Initiative, Cole Bolton, K&C Cattle, founder of the Beef Initiative. And we had to get a place that people had to fight to, but it had to have an understanding, a cursory understanding what we're doing here, because it's confusing as hell. And what we ended up was we tricked a lot of people to come to this first conference. I mean, it was generic, it's hard to put these conferences, the technicality of it. How do you make sure everybody's comfortable? The seating, the presentation, the microphones, the music, the mood, the algorithm of life. And Kerrville was the only place to do it. And people had to fly to Austin or San Antonio, and then they had to drive. They had to rent a car. Well, it was a challenge.
And a lot of prominent Bitcoiners came as well.
Yeah, we had, first and foremost, one of the guys that really helped me out in the very beginning was Marty Bent. He put me on the air, man. Marty, he introduced me to Adam Curry, and that led me to, being introduced to many other people. And then, of course, we had, who else? We had Parker Lewis. That was right there at the beginning of everybody needing something, like Unchained. They were prominent at that time. They were making moves within Bitcoin. And so we had a full conference that brought in medical doctors. We're talking about, how is getting animal protein to your brain the most important thing? Well, we have to have a doctor to verify everything for us. And that's how she treats her practice. She makes parents do bone broth fast before she'll treat their children. And so what I did is I got advisors, the best that I had at that time to come to Kerrville based on heritage and the proof of work of what they do. And now, the Beef Initiative has a very good partnership with Weston A. Price. It's a hell of a nonprofit, and everybody look up Weston A. Price. What are they? We have a partnership with the Independent Health Alliance. It's over 300 doctors in the United States that came together, and they said, we're going to treat you differently. It's going to be decentralized. They need Bitcoin. They need that. They already had the mindset. And so I brought people to Kerrville that is life, mind, body, and spirit. Money, the tangible assets that we need. That was the very beginning. And now we have a world-class advisory council coming through an innovative think tank that is the Beef Initiative. Started off with one conference, and now we're here on top of the world, and we're going to invite everybody that came to that first conference. Well, we got to replicate right here because of you and because of Will. And now it's time to turn the page.
Absolutely. It's incredible to see what can grow from a conference and see how far you've come. Yes. And you shout out to Cole Bolton, the beef box that I ordered from the Beef Initiative in 2022. My first ever Bitcoin transaction was K&C cattle.
Yes.
And that's, talk about heritage, proof of work, testimony. Like I know that you have always prioritized quality, and it's cool that from the beginning you had such great minds in the ranching ecosystem, the Bitcoin ecosystem present, many widely respected doctors. So it's incredible to see how that's evolved. Here in Berlin, we just had day one of Economía Bitcoin. We had some of the best and brightest Latin American Bitcoiners, 10 different circular economies from around the world. We had Mike Peterson, Chimbera doing a panel with Gerardo and Evelyn, the two Salvadorians who started the circular economy here. There's a lot of proof of work going around and setting so many different examples for the world to follow in so many different ways. And, we talk about fix the money, fix the food, fix the world. Bitcoiners often just say fix the money, fix the world. But food is so fundamental to human flourishing, the same way that money is. And so I love seeing these worlds collide. I really appreciated having you speak remotely at Economía Bitcoin last year. It's great to have you here. If you wanted to interject quickly.
Real quick.
And then I'll pass it to Will.
What led to that first conference, our second conference, was at Jason Rick's ranch. Okay, we had it in a barn. And he said, how are we going to do this, Slim? I said, we're going to get to work. But it was probably the best conference that we've had in Beef Initiative because it was with the founder. And Jason Rick is, in ranching, he's old school Bitcoiner. And he's a first generational rancher, but he brings 100 years of wisdom. And, what a better place. And I think Jason in the, spring of 2026 is going to have his second conference.
Very cool. Yeah, it's awesome to see how one can lead to the second, and then that can grow. It spirals, and then it can become like what you've become with what you've built with the Beef Initiative, this cutting edge think tank on fixing the food aspect of fix the money, fix the food, fix the world. So we got about 20 minutes left, and we're right in the thick of it. And that actually segues well into my next question for you, Will, is so obviously you need the reverse brain drain, you need the experience, the capital, the resources to make things happen, but also just the enthusiasm. So we're here at the tail end of Bitcoin month. This has been a whirlwind. I hope it doesn't show too much how exhausted I am. But at this point, I'm just powered by sheer enthusiasm and also volcano energy and the coffee that grows here in this region. Will, what is the enthusiasm? Like, you've been speaking at multiple events on, panels at the Reclaiming Health conference, adopting Bitcoin, and then now one of the big ones here. So
I think this will be number 5.
Yeah. So you've been speaking a lot, including one in Spanish,
Yep.
which is super cool.
Yep.
But so one of the things I really appreciate about you, Will, is how you communicate just the vision, your optimism for being, you sense the moment here, the potential here in Bitcoin country, this blank slate with this influx of all the different ingredients to set an example for the world. So what are you seeing with all of this, through Bitcoin month? What has been your experience with that, highlighting all of that?
It's an interesting correlation to what you were talking about a second ago with your Beef Initiative conferences and the growth and the year after year expansion of those. I think this was adopting Bitcoin's 5th year, and it was my, I guess, second one to experience. But just from the halving party, the previous year's adopting, this year's adopting. Man, it's like the tsunami wave just building and building, And this year was by far, it's volcanic energy. We've had a extremely high like you said, from rock stars to politicians, to it's beautiful. It's what Bitcoin is bringing to El Salvador. The people that want to get on a plane, that want to come here, that are into Bitcoin, it's a type of person. And 90-some% of us, I think, are meant to be here for a reason, and we drop right in and we get to work. And, this culmination of incredible humans coming together on this volcanic energy soil in a country that has been locked down for 30 years in violence and corruption and chaos and has just opened its doors 5 years ago, not even, is something spiritual and energetic and powerful. And it's one of those like pendulum shifts. I mean, some people, sometimes ask you, well, what if, can it be stopped? And I like to quote the great Ron Paul, you can't stop an idea.
Whose time has come.
Whose time has come, right?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite quotes.
Specifically referring to freedom.
Yes.
Right? And sovereignty of the human individual and collective. And so, yeah, that's very much what's happening here. This explosion of freedom, of energetic spirit. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. The president has all the mayors, across all the jurisdictions as fired up as we are, and these are movers and shakers that want to continue the march ahead. I mean, you can't, this is undeniable what's happening here. You can read the Washington Post or whatever, but you can just come here and talk to the locals, talk to us, see what's happening. It's absolutely revolutionary, once in a lifetime. Manifest Destiny meets Gold Rush meets, but it'll happen faster than Dubai or Singapore or Gold Rush, California, because of technology, because of Bitcoin, and because of this. We're here. It's the time. The line's in the sand. It's time for the evolution of human consciousness. We're in this great reset, this great shift, right, of consciousness, of capital, of everything. And so the timing is now.
The timing is now, and the place is here for setting the example for what is possible for the better route through the paradigm shift in so many different ways. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the freedom, we have the security, we have the Bitcoin friendliness in Bitcoin country, and it's bringing it all together. And so we have less than 20 minutes before I got to get back to the Berlin Festival in the main square for Economía Bitcoin weekend. And it's so amazing to be in the thick of it all. Talk about bringing people together.
Absolutely epic festival conference, by the way, man. The venue's beautiful. Yes. The people coming together were beautiful. Great point about there were so many Latin American Bitcoin expert nerds from other parts of the world, Argentina and Mexico, and great people to connect with that are just, and they're coming back to El Salvador. It's their first time in El Salvador. It was a really unique kind of kind of blend. And I love the after party festival vibe in the town square with the locals. It's this integration, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. As Slim said earlier, a lot of work goes in to, putting this together. I'm kind of exhausted, but also super happy. It all went well. Everything was on time. And also just the collection of people. It's so inspiring. Shout out to obviously Gerardo and Evelyn for co-founding together the Bitcoin Berlin project, for making this a destination where Bitcoiners and freedom lovers from around the world want to come together. And actually, so this is going to segue to my question for you, Slim.
Yes.
So one of the most popular panels today was also coffee on a Bitcoin standard.
Yes.
And coffee is one of the major exports from El Salvador. It's a huge part of the economy here. Berlin is this agricultural hub for the region, the Usulatan region here, Tecapa volcano. Like, they're a region around it. This is where merchants come together. There's an existing agricultural economy that Bitcoin has supercharged.
Yes.
And so we had one of the Bitcoiners from Britain who lives in Berlin, Harry. He was on this panel, and he bought a coffee finca recently here. A lot of people, Chorito, one of the leading Bitcoin adopters among Salvadorans, great coffee roaster, internationally respected. He also was on the panel. So there are people who take their craft very seriously, is what I'm getting to here.
Right.
Here with the soil. And so that's really what I want to ask you about, is looking more toward the future now that we're starting to wind down this conversation.
Yeah.
What do you see with the soil, the fertile land for growing new,
Right. Well, I mean, it's a great question, because it's like, where do you start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why? Why did you start here in El Salvador? Well, everybody's met Steve, and, he's our head engineer of not only, family heritage, but also the genetics of, what it is to build the perfect cow. So let's start from the beginning, guys. El Salvador has the best water opportunities. It's an opportunity that, because water is going to get into a lot of people's discussions. There's a arms race to get after water right now. So we have the obligation and responsibility of really bringing it into the discussion. And so I brought the best in the world here with me the first time. He's been to El Salvador. Steve has more times than I have. But what we've done is we started with the water, and then we tested the soil. And now we get to compare that soil down here in this agricultural valley, and we get to cross-reference what we have in the United States, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we get to see, where are we in the moment in time? Where's El Salvador, and how are we going to go, to build a food security system hand in hand with the government of El Salvador? Well, I think it's going to include this valley, and I think, there's going to be a massive headquarters here in this valley. And it's because you actually told me to get over here, and you did. And I said, well, I got to listen to Jethro, because this is basically, I'm not there and you are, your boots on the ground. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a massive unveiling, and I'm going to throw everything at the world. It's going to be a form of testimony. It's going to have why, what, and how. And I told, the Minister of Agriculture, met with him the other day. It was a very good conversation. And, we're creating the roadmap. And it's very serious, because we're inviting everybody into this. Every producer, every civilian, every tourist, everybody that's considering El Salvador. Well, you're going to look at what Bukele's doing. What is he trying to do for his people? Well, he's trying to supply a food security system that got captured. It's been captured for my whole lifetime, his whole lifetime. Think about that. We get to show El Salvador needs infrastructure, and it has to be based on the right form of agriculture. And it's a vertically integrated system that is a gold standard of model of agriculture. And the country of El Salvador is now the new ranch. Okay, within that new massive ranch, what are we going to do? Smaller ranches, and then smaller ranches, and then bigger ranches. It's a replicatable system. Okay, it's clean.
Nodes, baby, nodes.
Yes, it's the first node, international node. I didn't know where I was going to land. I've been to Australia, I've been to Africa, I've been to Asia, I've been all over North and South America. It was up for grabs. And because of Bitcoiners and the country of El Salvador, we get to unfold what it means to build a ranch. Is it a homestead? It might be. I don't know. We're going to find out. You got to stay tuned. And that's where it's going to get very much that if you're not paying attention, you're going to get left behind.
Yep. Is it Marty Ben who said, if you're not paying attention yet, you probably should be?
Yes.
I think the intro of his
Yes.
podcast.
Thanks, Marty.
Yep. So great quote right there. Yeah, and okay, so yeah, we got 10 minutes left, but I just want to say thank you. You were giving me way too much credit for highlighting Berlin. I want to give a lot of credit, again, Gerardo and Evelyn for founding the circular economy here. That brought me here.
I'll tell you something about Ricardo and Evelyn, how much they helped us within this contract with the government. Guys, we have language barriers here. We have cultural barriers. We have things that we have to overcome. And you can screw up a good deal by not having good peer-to-peer communications. And so you come to El Salvador, follow the protocol of communications. It's integrity. It's open sourced, and it's based on testimony of truth. And be prepared, because we're all going to be held accountable by, the courage of those first movers and shakers into this country. Evelyn, Ricardo, I cannot give them enough, respect for what they stepped up to do. And they volunteer your time and your consciousness into this.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Endless shout outs to Gerardo and Evelyn.
Yes.
And yeah, so we only have 5 minutes left. And so I did have one more question I wanted to get to you, Will. And so you mentioned the water, the advantage of the best water here. And so, Will, I know you have started to get into the permaculture scene here. Aaron Murphy on the panel with you guys tomorrow, boots on the ground at Economía Bitcoin. Subscribe on YouTube, Economía Bitcoin, and follow on X at Economía BTC. But so for that conversation tomorrow, Aaron Murphy has been pioneering permaculture. Texas Slim obviously pioneering a new gold standard, Bitcoin standard of ranching.
Yes.
And so what do you see with the permaculture, the water, the potential of the soil, the land here?
Yeah, it's incredibly rich, this land. Volcanic rich dirt that's just black and everything grows. We were hiking a property, one of our properties the other day, and the guys, the locals, showed us, hey, well, look, we're under these big mango trees, big, huge mango trees. And you see, he's like, Will, look around. What do you see? You see all those sprouts? And it's these tiny little 6, 12-inch little mango sprouts. And he's like, you got an organic natural nursery right here. And so the abundance is incredible. I've hiked numerous gangas, as we call them, large land parcels here. And you'll just turn a corner, and then all of a sudden it'll cool down, and you'll see ferns, and you'll hear water. And man, there will be a little spring just busting out of the rock, and then there's a little waterfall or just trickling down. I mean, it's just like, so the abundance here is incredible. The permaculture opportunities have got to be something beyond my imagination. We've got all the experts around us to do all of that. And I've been getting schooled a little bit on it, little by little, and I'm stoked to learn more. But yeah, everything from producing agri-hoods, like Shutia, the community development we're working on, where the actual community neighborhood green spaces are productive with produce. Everything from goat cheese to cucumbers, right? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this land is extremely rich. It's extremely diverse. From all in half an hour to an hour, you can get everything from beach and cliffs and bayou and waterfalls, hot springs, cold springs. I mean, it's really an amazing, abundant place, blessed with this volcanic spiritual energy. And I think it's that pendulum swinging the other way, and it's just ripe for this explosive.
We don't know yet. We don't know, do we? Yeah. We really don't know, and that's what, I've been following Will's expressions. We don't know. The only way you get there is with grace, and the only way you get there is to be able to honor the now. Honor the now. And if you don't know how to honor the now, well, take a moment and see what that means to you. Well, what we have here in El Salvador, we have a lot of grace to give, especially to Bukele, the country of El Salvador. I cannot give enough thanks to Oscar, the Minister of Agriculture. Roman, he made a phone call that led to a handshake.
Yep. Stacy in there too.
Yeah, well, that's where it was leading, Stacy and Max, and then how much do we not know what's about to unfold? We don't. We need help. We need those volunteers. We need those people to step it up and follow Will. He was here first. Follow Jethro. He was here first. Learn how to listen and learn how to honor and give grace.
I'm so glad you emphasize that. And as we wind down the conversation, I think that is a really important point to emphasize is here in El Salvador, the land is fertile. The setting is right. All of the circumstances are here for so many things to blossom, to flourish, but you've got to lead with respect.
You have to.
And one of the reasons I've always respected the Beef Initiative since I first heard about you from Daniel Prince and Marty Bent was shake your rancher's hand. You know, that ethos of getting to know the people, getting to know where they come from, what their circumstances are before you go around and, you know, this influx of talent and capital and like so many people can make so many differences. It's important that the right people are here making the right differences. I've always respected how you lead with respect. The same way you talk about shake your rancher's hand, it was Gerardo and Evelyn's approach to orange pilling Berlin, making it one of the most hyper-Bitcoinized places on earth, along with Charlie Stevens, the co-organizer for Economía Bitcoin, the other half that makes it possible. Orange pilling machine in both English and Spanish. So many others, everybody who's contributed to the project. So many people have contributed to the Beef Initiative over the years.
Yes.
Your work has always been about bringing people together. And so just bring people, the right people are here at the right place at the right time with the right attitude, bringing the right solutions that the world needs to see. So as we close together, or as we close this down, you know, it's been a crazy, wild journey of Bitcoin month these past 2 weeks. I really am exhausted, but we got one more day. So just final thoughts. What are you guys excited about tomorrow for the grand finale, closing out Economía Bitcoin, boots on the ground? These two guys, Aaron Murphy and James from Bitcoin Farmers Market and Beef Back Better.
Yes.
In one of the most hyper-Bitcoinized places on earth, on top of Tecapa volcano.
It's easy for me. I've basically done my brain dump in this life for what we're going to go do. And that was over 5 years of reconnaissance, research, shaking ranchers' hands and everything. You know, tomorrow is a moment that everybody gets to see. It's a manual. I mean, if you're on the fence about anything, don't be on the fence anymore. Pay attention and lead with your consciousness. What is your consciousness, your understanding? And forget all the past. You know, allow yourself to have that creative imagination that has some innocence to it. That's what we need. We need some innocent grace and some good spokespeople. All I'm going to do is tell everybody who I met and say, hey, go meet Steve, go meet Cole, go meet Jason, go meet Jethro, go meet Will. And that's what everybody that's watching this, you can do it all now in El Salvador. So saddle up. Here we go.
Yep, giddy up. And
Giddy up.
Yep. Will, to close us out, what are you most excited for about just this special moment, closing out Bitcoin month here at this moment in history in El Salvador, on top of a volcano?
Well, the grand finale. Brothers and sisters, great, amazing, beautiful people coming together. Yeah, I think I am really excited about the boots on the ground panel discussion. Boots on the ground is really what this is all about. You know, getting down there, getting dirty, and making it happen, connecting people, connecting friends, connecting capital, and yeah, I'm just so grateful and blessed to be a part of it. I'm a little beside myself. It's been an insanely energetic, explosive 2 weeks. Several of us today were like, is this real? Like, are we really? Is this like pinch me kind of thing? Did I die? Am I in heaven right now? Or, you know. But yeah, I'm really excited to top it all off tomorrow and wind it all down and get back to organizational work.
Thank you. So true.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have a few days to properly sleep after this is all done. But yeah, this has been a very special experience. I'm so honored to be sharing it with both of you gentlemen and to everyone who came here. We got a few people here actually in the background, by the way, at this beautiful place on top of volcano Tecapa who have been here for the full Bitcoin month experience. So like shout out Tom and Jeff and just like everybody else who made it all the way through from Bitcoin Historico, adopting Bitcoin, and now here closing out with the grand finale, Economía Bitcoin in Bitcoin Berlin. They're closing it off tomorrow, but first we got the festival back in Berlin's main square, supporting the circular economy. That's a really cool experience too. I could talk for minutes about that, but we got to close it down. I got to get back, but I'm so excited for tomorrow. So happy that you guys both are here. And yeah,
Thanks for having us, brother.
Thank you, Jethro. Yeehaw, yippee-ki-yay, mother. We'll end it later. Here we go.
Yeah.